Knicks Daily Edition, baby. Welcome back. I'm your host, Shia. This video is going to be called Smoke, Fire, and the New York Knicks' Silence. Because the NBA is a league that's on fire right now. It's a league of noise. Every rumor is a headline. Every tweet is a potential earthquake. And in the middle of it all, the New York Knicks seem to be the league's most dramatic soap opera. While the finals are taking place, what are we doing? But this year, our front office, there ain't no leaks, there ain't no presses, there ain't no statements. Nothing but a distant echo of a franchise moving behind locked doors, thick curtains, and in silence. Even when we dismissed Tom Thibodeau, a man who brought back respectability, it was quiet. In a time when teams issue press releases before making decisions and agents leak interest for negotiating purposes, the New York Knicks under Leon Rose has always remained stoic, nearly mute. But for some of you fans, this is maddening. For others like me, it's refreshing. And for the critics, it's the spark they've been waiting for to declare that the Knicks are in disarray. We've been clean for years now. Now they're saying, who fires a coach without a successor? Why hasn't Leon Rose addressed the media, Frank Isola? Oh, all the top coaching candidates, they don't want the job. What does that say? Somebody like Barkley. This panic is familiar and it's predictable, but it's useless. Because if history under Leon Rose has taught us anything, it's this: silence doesn't mean chaos. Silence in the Knicks' case often means that something is about to happen, and it usually does. And that's what I want to talk about. Y'all gotta calm down. Let's talk about the strategic quietness that Rose has had, especially in the wake of firing Tom Thibodeau. It's not a sign of confusion or failure, but it's a careful approach. The same approach that's brought us further than anyone thought possible. It also may be the prelude to something massive. It's proof in the pudding. Look at the Tom Thibodeau era. The Tom Thibodeau era was a necessary chapter, but it wasn't the final chapter. Because Tom Thibodeau did a good job. He took us from being a laughing stock of a franchise, and he gave us structure. He gave us purpose and accountability. He elevated Julius Randle to all NBA status twice. He guided Brunson into superstardom. He helped transform us as a lottery team into a feared playoff squad. And for all of the criticisms of his rigidity and his offensive limitations, Tibbs brought back credibility. And he did it in New York. So you gotta stop fronting like that's a small feat. Now I'm gonna stop fronting like he didn't have mistakes. He had a ceiling. His rotations were grueling. In-game adjustments, non-existent. His ability to elevate in the playoffs, questionable. And when injuries struck and when finesse was required, he often doubled down on grit and effort instead of nuance and flexibility, kind of a 90s mentality. And that got exposed, especially when we would have to face stacked or defensively sound rosters. Offensively, we couldn't keep up with faster teams or versatile teams. So firing Thibodeau wasn't a betrayal of his success. It was an acknowledgement that even success needs to evolve. And the Knicks, to their credit, that management team, to their credit, pulled the trigger quickly and quietly. There were no whispers during the season. There were no slow media leaks. There were no shams bombs until the decision was made. That alone tells you something, Knicks fans. That they knew this was coming. And they likely know now what's coming next. The critics are loud, but the critics with Leon Rose has often been wrong. The firing of Tom Thibodeau has ignited a firestorm of takes right now. We control the media, the media right now. The media is spinning circles around itself with speculation. Jason Kidd isn't interested. This team turned down the Knicks. Why would he take the Knicks job anyway? This candidate is fine, but they're not inspiring. Johnny Bryant, he lacks head coaching experience. Maybe Mark Jackson. Stop it. You know what this noise sounds like? It sounds like the same noise that we've heard as fans when the team didn't hire a GM from a popular front office pipeline. Or when we picked up Obi Toppin in that draft. Or when we signed Jalen Brunson instead of going all in on Donovan Mitchell. These were all seen as mistakes in real time until they weren't. Critics don't analyze the Knicks. They don't even watch the Knicks. They react to us. And when we zig instead of zag, then the assumption is always incompetence. But since Leon Rose took over, incompetence hasn't been part of the blueprint. And that makes them sick. It makes them sick because the Rose regime has always been known for building in silence. Leon Rose has been mocked for not addressing the media, but this is by design. He's not a former GM turned media star. He's not a guy that, gives up sound bites for ESPN or lets Mark Berman peek into the war room. He's not that guy. Leon Rose is a former power broker. That's important because he understands the perception is negotiable, but results are immutable. Rose doesn't care if fans panic in June, as long as we're cheering in April. And that philosophy has mostly worked. So if we're going to look at a timeline of his silent successes, 2020, he hired Tibbs. He drafted Obi Toppin over flashier names. The media eviscerated us. But the result? 41-31 record. The number 4 seed that year in 2021. And in that offseason, we signed Fournier. And instead of trading for a star, we got Kimber. We did get killed by the analysts. We did take a step back. But ultimately, those moves we used as positioning. Because in 2022, Brunson signing was panned as overpaying for a non-all-star. And then Brunson turns around and becomes one of the best players in the NBA. Follow that up in 2023, where we extended Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. When many of the critics said that they were role players on big contracts, they turned into elite postseason performers. What are you talking about? Then last season, offseason, we acquired Cat and McCall. Did we have Brunson, Anunoby, and Hart? Did that happen by accident? No, it happens because we operate in stealth. Everything about this regime has been calculated, intentional, and mostly effective. So why would that suddenly change now? Stop listening to the media. With this coach's search, I think it's a feature, not a flaw. What if the Knicks not having a named coach right now isn't a failure? What if that's part of the plan? I know you're going to be like, shit, you always have glass filled. I know. But sometimes the best coaches aren't available, but the timing matters. And desperation is expensive. The Knicks, by staying patient, may actually be waiting for a playoff domino to fall. Looking at the options that are around. Weighing a bold promotion like Johnny Bryant, who's deeply respected in the locker room. Or maybe considering an out-of-the-box hire. I know people say Jay Wright's off the table, but he would have been outside of the box. He coached Brunson, Hart, and Bridges. Maybe they're possibly preparing an offer that's a power offer that gives somebody power in terms of their job title in addition to coaching. They're not hiring a coach, they're recruiting a partner. So this isn't a fly-by-night immediate decision. Let the Lakers chase teams for the headlines. Let other teams rush to get a name in the press. The Knicks might be doing something rarer than that. They might be building consensus quietly. That's how you can land someone who can win not only for 5 years, but someone who can win for the long term. We don't want the media headlines for today. That's why this isn't 2005, 2010, or 2017. Knicks fans, we've seen dysfunction. We know what it looks like. We know Steve Mills chasing free agents and Isaiah Thomas running while Phil Jackson sleep at the wheel and insisting that we push the triangle offense in 2017. This isn't that. This front office built a culture players want to play for. We retain core players without leaks. We have players like Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart acting like spokespeople for the team on podcasts, at press conferences, during international play. That's not dysfunction, that's family. And family doesn't make every decision by committee. Sometimes the people at the top move in silence because they trust each other. They communicate eternally. They wait. They strike. In a noisy world, the Knicks might be the only ones still whispering. And as a result, we may be on the verge. You got to ask yourself, what might be brewing? Let's go from what we know to what we can infer. What we know is Brunson, Hart, Anunoby, Bridges, Towns, Mitchell Robinson form a legitimate Eastern Conference contender. What we know is the Knicks have multiple draft picks, expiring contracts in Shaman and Payne, and flexible trade assets. What we know is the NBA is always one star away from shifting. See Kevin Durant in Phoenix, Damon Milwaukee, Beal to Phoenix, Harden to LA. So the coaching carousel is not done yet. Now, what can we infer? We can infer that the Knicks want a coach that complements Brunson's leadership, not competes with it. We can infer in that they may be positioning themselves to package a hire with a trade or rebrand. I don't know. Maybe a new coach means a new style of play. We can infer that we are likely creating a team not just for next year, but for the next era. Can we infer that? There's no need to act like the house is on fire because Ime or J Kidd or Wright says no. It's always been about timing. The Knicks didn't peak in 2024. We just entered our real championship window. That's why we moved on from the Thibodeau era. Not later. That's why we moved on now. This isn't the final version of our team. It's the launch pad of our team. So my fellow Knicks fans, let me give you this piece of advice. Breathe. Trust the process, but still stay petty. Because we carry around emotional baggage right now. Let's put it down for a second. This isn't the Knicks of the tortured past. PTSD, let it go. This isn't about missing out on LeBron or whiffing on Zion or letting Jeremy Lin walk away. It's not that. This is about a team with Jalen Brunson, one of the 5 best leaders in the NBA. It's about a core that wants to play for the New York Knicks. And it's about a front office that has made bold, unorthodox, and ultimately correct moves in their history. Stop tripping. When the media panics, let them. When Celtics fans troll, clap back calmly. When insiders say the Knicks don't know what they're doing, you got to remind them. No one knew Brunson would be this good. But did the Knicks? When everyone asks, who's the coach? Respond with, who cares? The Knicks are ready. Because here's the truth. The Knicks are stable. The Knicks are competent. And this season shows the Knicks are close. Closer than we've been in the 21st century. Stop playing with us. So I'm gonna end it with this. Silence is a weapon. Relax. Let us do the psychology on cats. In an NBA that thrives on noise, the Knicks have mastered the art of silence. It's not cowardice. It's discipline. It's trust. And it's a system that's worked time and time again under Leon Rose and everywhere else. So when the headlines scream chaos, Knicks are not panicking. And if they're not panicking, neither should you. Knick fans, something's coming. Might just be everything. Relax. We'll see you. Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. Silence is golden. Whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here at Knicks Deli, baby.
Everybody eats.
I'm your boy, Shia. I'm out. Peace.